Welcome to another episode of Ship War, my review of Saving Mr. Banks.
Shipper War. When ship happens, I'm there.
Saving Mr. Banks stars Tom Hanks, Emma Thompson, Colin Farrell, and many other very talented actors and actresses. Now, the premise of this story is about Walt Disney and the author of Mary Poppins, P.L. Travers, and their conflict between each other when it comes to the production of Mary Poppins. Now, I went into this film thinking this is just going to be a movie about the production of Mary Poppins and how it went from the beginning towards the end, and pretty much this is what the movie was, but there was so many other more layers to this story than what I was expecting, and it kind of blew my mind when it came to Mary Poppins. Apparently there's so much more to the story and the actual real telling of the story, because it's actually based on actual true events that took place in P.L. Travers' life, is not that happy movie that we see, that Disney movie. Aside from that, it's very interesting to watch, you know, the process of how the movie was made and all the stuff Walt Disney had to go through to get this movie to make. And it's interesting to also learn the history behind it, because you learn in this movie that Walt Disney was pretty much going after P.L. Travers for a very long time for the story of Mary Poppins. I think he's mentioned that he was going after her for 20 years, pretty much begging her to get this story, for her to, you know, give him the rights to Mary Poppins so he can make this film. She didn't want to give him the rights because in her mind, nobody really understood the story. It was her baby. She created it. It was something very personal to her, and she was afraid of what he was going to do with the story when it came to making it into a film. And supposedly she was never ever really, in reality, she was never really satisfied with how the movie turned out, even though she pretty much had her hands into the movie. Like, she gave them the yes or no when it came to certain things. If she didn't like something, she would tell them. If they said something incorrectly, she would tell them the correct way of saying it in the English language. Like, she was really on top of them when it came to this movie. And it was actually pretty funny to watch, but at the same time, you kind of sympathize with these guys who are working on this movie, because they're trying to make this movie like this fun Disney type of movie, and she's like on top of them, basically saying no to pretty much everything that they want to do with the film in the Disney sense. It's a very interesting way of seeing how the production went into this movie and how just Disney movies are made in general back in those days, because these are mostly the movies that we all grew up on, or at least I grew up on a lot of these films. So it's fun to watch, and I definitely recommend this to anybody who has any interest in seeing this movie. Go see it and support it. Anybody who loves Disney movies, go see this movie and support it. If you love Disney in general, go see it and support it. If you love Mary Poppins the movie, go see this movie and support it and get a real realism of what Mary Poppins is when it comes to the actual story. And just anybody who wants to see a good movie, go watch this movie and support it, because overall it's a great film. So that is all for this episode of Ship Award. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. Thor: The Dark World stars Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman, Tom Hiddleston, Anthony Hopkins, and many more talented actors and actresses. Now, the premise of this movie is pretty much this takes place, I guess, several months after the Avengers. Thor is in his home world, and then stuff happens and he has to save the 9 realms